and that you'll endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of your knowledge and ability. So help you God.
I do.
Congratulations, Mr. Governor.
Democrat Josh Stein has officially been sworn in as governor of North Carolina. Stein was sworn in during a private ceremony in Raleigh. Former Governor Roy Cooper transferred power, and Stein officially took the oath of office with his family by his side. He'll now start to exercise his duties as governor. Stein will have a public inauguration ceremony on Saturday, January 11th, at the Capitol in Raleigh.